All right, the time is 7:03. We will begin our February 10th meeting of the Equity and Inclusion meeting. I heard Daniel took attendance last time we were here. Would you mind doing that again? Thanks.
All right. We'll start from my left. Ashley Phillips.
Here.
Zetta Hammersley.
Here.
Gabby Flores.
Present.
Martin. And I
Here.
blanked on your last name. April Jones.
Here.
Bess Bailey.
Here.
And Yvonne Salinas.
Here. Here.
And Daniel Trotter is here as well.
Thanks, Daniel. Let's go ahead, and are there any comments from the public, including any emails or phone messages? Great, that seems like a no. We'll move on to any old business. Okay, moving on from old business. The first item we have is discussion on the diversity and inclusion training, which was included in an email from a few days ago as well.
Has anybody had time to review the training options?
I had a quick question. Well, to kick things off, I guess. So the Trialliant vendor, when reading through that, it talked about 4 courses, right? And it talked about like the time limit for each. And then further down, it talked about like shorter, digestible like training. Is that part of those courses, or are there separate ones? How? I guess I didn't understand, the time limit on the longer sessions versus what they were advertising.
Well, I believe the cost includes the harassment and then the diversity one. But the diversity comes with 3 different ones. I think the other ones are all included. There's something new that they just rolled out, even after I put the stuff together before.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that comes with the package.
Okay. So
I'm not sure those tidbit ones are going to be appropriate for what you guys are looking for training-wise. Those are just refreshers and reminders that could be sent out throughout the year on what we actually learned.
Okay, when I read that, it seemed to conflict with the actual trainings that they focused on in the proposal. So, okay, thanks.
And Casey, one question I have for you is, as far as budget goes, I'm assuming these are all included because they're all within the budget we've set aside, or are there any that should just be marked off because of that?
They're not. So the Contola one is who we are currently training with, and that's why they're more reasonable, just because we're with them and they've already got everything established. The new vendors actually require setup fees and all that kind of stuff. That's why you see it a little bit more expensive. Budget-wise, I think we budgeted an additional amount for the diversity and inclusion training on top of our harassment training. So we've got a pretty good budget, but some of those are a little higher than I expected them to be. Now, we will have to do an RFQ if we go with any other vendor other than Contola, because we're already with Contola. So we will have to do an RFQ on any of the others.
Just a review on Contola. Is the value on here the annual cost for Contola? Or is that just what we paid for the suite? And it's $2,700 is what's listed.
That's for both. That's for the harassment training. It's a per person fee, and we've already paid the setup fees for them. The $2,700 is the per person for, I believe I did 300 to capture anybody additional above and beyond employees that wanted to do the training.
Okay. I guess I was just trying to compare that to like Trialliant. It's listed, I think, for the 2-year license for $63.28, which includes the setup fee. And then I didn't know if like $2,700 was an annual fee for Contola.
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's okay. Got it. So that's really more expensive per year, I guess. Okay. Thanks.
I have a comment more than a question. I work with Mark on a couple asset mapping and community outreach projects for work, and they are an excellent group. And especially for diversity training, I think it's really important to have an organization that can bring relevant topics to the area, especially within city administration. I would vouch for them on that aspect, just because I think they're a more personable person to bring in or organization to bring in to provide that training rather than an online session. Although I see that their cost is much larger than the others. So just keep
And
that
we
in
also discussed we have to have online training just because of, we run 24/7, so we have to have that available. It's really difficult to bring in trainers and get everybody in. The cost is prohibitive, and the time and the coordination is.
Gotcha.
Mark's great. I'm on their advisory committee too. They're
Cool.
just very expensive because they
Very
have
much.
to create the program for us.
So, Cantula, they offer a full-length preview. You can go online. You can actually see some of their stuff. And so some of you might have done that as well. And I had somebody reach out to me within probably 2 hours because they thought I was looking into it a little bit more. I want to hear a little bit more. How has it been going since you've used them, since we've used them in the past for other types of training? Is there positive feedback? Are we seeing kind of positive results by using them for the other types of training? Do we have that data?
We have only used them for harassment training, and it is a mandatory course for all of our employees. I don't get feedback. They don't like to do it. I mean, so they're required to do it, so they have to do it. So I don't think it matters which vendor we go with. It's going to be the same feedback that we get. It's new this year that we're going to add the diversity and inclusion component onto our training.
Yeah, I like the way that the trialian is really explained out pretty well about exactly what you're going to be getting. A whole lot more than the rest of them, but the ones that we already are familiar with was the last controller, right?
I have not used their. We've only used their harassment training. We have
Right.
not used their diversity. I did go through their training too. It looks good. Those are my top two: the trialian and the controller. My top two choices. That's kind of, I was hoping for some feedback on it. But trialian's a lot more expensive.
Yes, I noticed. Wide range in terms of what the cost, I guess.
I have just a comment to add. I know that we also talked about Centrio as another option, but I'm not sure. I think I probably grabbed the old packet. Was that one that we were supposed to consider too, or no? Was it?
I thought I added it and updated the
You probably did, but this
spreadsheet.
was-
Did you? It was on the. Was it on the email one?
Probably, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I've had personal experience with Centrio at a former organization. It's really a great product. It's well done. We ended up paying, it's usually by size of organization times the heads that you're training. So we ended up paying about $6.75 for 2 courses within their portfolio. So it's really well done. But that was before they merged with Centrio. So I would imagine their pricing is different now. I did do a demo of Trailient because I happened to also, in my day job, be looking at it as well. So the Trailient demo was really nicely done. It spoke to maybe some of your first responders, and because it's kind of set up like a CNN news brief or something. It's interactive. So I'm just thinking that if you've been with, even though the cost is significantly, cheaper with Cantola, if they've been doing it for a couple of years, it might be beneficial to just spice it up with something different for a couple years and then go back to Cantola. But the quality of the Trailient was really nice. And it looked like, I didn't go into all of the modules, but the topics seemed really relevant. And then you could maybe alternate and do 2 this year, 2 next year, or, you didn't have to keep it the same each year. It just seemed like a really solid product, although more expensive.
I agree.
I think Trailient, like you were saying, Gabby, it engages all types of learners versus some of the other ones that I've looked at were more context heavy based, which we already know that if they're setting through this training, it's probably been a long day. I liked the video modules that they offered and how it was engaging. And so Trailient was my number one pick, although I know cost is higher, but that would be what I would go with.
Just one more question about the cost you listed, because I don't know if I understood the first time. When it's listed at 2,700 for Contola, remind me, is that just for the year, or do you pay that? Do you pay that every year?
We pay that every year.
All right. So with Trailient, if we're getting a 2-year license for 4,548, oh, okay.
That's
I'm
per
sorry.
year.
Got it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Now he understands. All right.
I have one more question. Is the goal of this training for interpersonnel, like within the city administration, or is this training to be more inclusive of constituents and extend outwards, I guess?
So the harassment portion is for all employees within North Kansas City. That's something we've done every year. The DEI component, we are going to add on for all employees, and we're going to offer it to everybody on boards and commissions. Can't require them to do it, but we will email it out to all of them and get them signed up that they would like to participate. Well, if there's no other comments, I will probably proceed with putting an RFQ together and getting it out there for the ones that are at least on that group, and then move forward with it. I appreciate your feedback. Yes, sir.
Is there any idea what kind of time, like times of day or what kind of schedule? That'll all be done once it's been decided, whichever one?
Oh, it's going to be all online, so anybody can do it anytime.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Good.
I was gonna just ask our team, like, it sounds like some of us have experience with Trailient, and we feel like that one's a pretty strong candidate. Would we be able to help subsidize that annual fee just with our budget? I mean, I don't know.
You
We
don't
have-
need, you
we
don't
can't
need
do that.
to. No.
Okay.
That would not be expected.
Right.
This
That's-
should be a city expense.
Okay.
Right. What I
Got
would
it.
like is for you all to think about maybe putting a letter together that we can email out to all the boards and commissions on this being your initiative for them. So if you want to put that on your to-do list, that'd be awesome.
And can you remind me what the time frame is for this again? Like, when do you want it to roll out? How long do people have to complete it? What's the?
So it being transitioned to an RFQ versus using a vendor we already have is going to elongate
Yep.
the timeline. So I won't know that answer because that will be answered through the RFQ process. But our hope would be by end of, calendar year 2022.
Okay, but on a typical year with your harassment training, are they given a window of time or are they given the whole year to complete it?
No, they usually
Okay.
have it finished by October 1st
Okay.
before open enrollment starts.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm having technical struggles with my life. Moving on to our strategic plan RFQ, Kim sent us some information. I believe it's also printed. Has everyone had the opportunity to review this, or do we need some time now? Great. And then Kim, it's my understanding that this is the only group that is, okay.
Correct. And we talked a little bit about, when we had to reissue it again for an advanced budget. That industry, as you guys know, is a high growth area. So it is commanding pretty much, it is in control of its own budget, is what I was told by one particular vendor who did not submit.
So can you walk me through the financial piece of this? So first question would be, is this also something that comes out of our budget, or is this coming out of the city budget?
Well, they're kind of one and the same, but so it was anticipated that, so this particular governing body was given $10,000 as its budget. It was envisioned that this particular service would come out of that. Again, it really is, think of city government as there is actually just really one pot. We segregate it by function, and sometimes there is some regulatory reasons, meaning you can't pay for certain things out of, say, the water fund. That is what's considered what we call a restricted fund. So you cannot use that money for anything other than what it has been identified for as it within the Missouri state statutes. But your particular budget comes out of the general fund. Therefore, it's kind of one pot that we then petition. So yes, it is anticipated. Now, that does not mean that if budgets, I always think, are fluid objects. They should be amending to your needs as you either up or down. So to kind of go through what's in front of you, the budget that was advertised for this particular service was $7,500. Now, that did, through the conversations, and this actually had an addendum associated with it that, you know, if you guys remember, our scope and scale had, these are kind of the basic services, and these are the things that, you know, we may want to discuss with the selected vendor as we move forward. This particular vendor decided to put a price to that. It's actually, that was not required. It was not within the scope of work that was solicited. RFQs are, you're to be looking through things through a qualification lens, not a cost lens. Does that make sense? But this particular vendor did choose, and it's their right, to put a dollar amount to that.
How do you want us to go through this process? I mean, it's, because under normal circumstances, we would have maybe 3 proposals and a rubric, and we would evaluate criteria. Given that we don't have that, is it just a discussion, pros and cons, or is it, what's the process?
So because this is a little atypical that we did only receive one, and like I said, this is an emerging market with surge capacity, and specifically surge price index right now is what I would categorize this particular service. If you guys wanted to kind of look through this, have a discussion, we could invite this particular vendor on a work session basis. You guys could have some dialogue with them, and then that it would, I think, give them an opportunity to maybe give you some context to all these other things. I mean, to me, I look at this and I'm like, okay, this is great, but what does this mean? It's very hard to have that on a written statement without the context and more of a discussion. So there's a couple of different ways you guys can go. Like I said, you guys can reject this. We look at the budget again. We start the process over again. However, I do feel like we do have a viable candidate here. And you guys could have some discussions amongst yourself, maybe come up with a list of questions that you would like to further explore with this particular person, and I can coordinate a work session and have them come and chat with you guys about it in a more casual setting.
I think that'd be a great way to go forward. I'll go ahead and vouch for DMK Dion. I've worked with her personally. I'm not familiar with VESPA, but I think having that session to speak with them, Dion would be a great person to give context and to evaluate what the needs within the RFQ is and personalize it towards that for sure.
So I agree. Dion King's organization has got a great reputation, but as I read this, it sounded like they were backseat drivers in this. They were not the front seat drivers. It seems like Weaver would be driving and leading this process. So I think the Q&A session and maybe a presentation of their approach would be great, because that would allow us to better understand the relationship between them. And because I mean, if you follow Dion King, she's doing global work now, which is really expensive. So I would imagine she might have a welcome or an appearance, but not do the bulk of the problem solving, my guess. So I think that would be great if we could do some Q&A with them and hear what their approach is. And I also wonder, Brandy had mentioned someone from the Y, and I don't know if this was the person.
I think it's
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This was a previous member, had a relationship with the YMCA, and there was initial discussions that they could help us with strategy, and then stuff kind of went away. So I just wondered if this was the same person.
It looks like from the references that they listed and the projects that they've worked on, I mean, it hits right to home here and what we're doing, and especially with the local YMCA and Tina being a part of that piece. And so I definitely think it's worth them coming in for that Q&A. I still like the thought of a work session so that we can all do this together, but I know last time, Kim, you had mentioned maybe like compiling a list of questions.
I would say that would be if we had more applicants, but
Fair.
since this is we've got this one, feel free to continue. I don't want to bogart your conversation, but if you guys would like to pursue with a work session, I'd love for everybody to break out their calendars.
Let's go ahead and do that now, because I think when we pause on calendars until the end, things get a little hectic. For a work session, we've typically done same time, but towards the end of the month, which is also a 2-week turnaround, and I don't know how that would be for an outside vendor.
If you guys could give me a couple of dates, I can, calendaring, boy, I think everybody knows it's the hardest part of any project.
Yep. And we typically do 6 o'clock work sessions.
So can we go ahead and offer up, and I know that you said that there's also meetings that might happen on Thursdays.
There are meetings Thursday, the first Thursday of the month is Planning Commission in this room, and then this body, as well as Parks and Recreation, meets at the same time on this night. So, but we don't have anything, well, I do have an event on Thursday the 17th, so if possible, I would like to not double stack that particular evening. It is a city event, so I am showing, at least on my calendar, the 24th, February 24th is open. I don't know if you guys, if that works for you.
That works, but we're also saying that now we need to look at another possible date in case our vendor isn't available. So then I assume it would just be March.
Well, if you guys are doing a work session, again, the reason why we try to do it in this room is for broadcast purposes. Remember, a work session's not broadcast, so that could be something that we could maybe find another room in a city facility to have you have that. Like I said, I wouldn't be limited to that, like I said, because since it's not being broadcast, it kind of opens up some room availability that's not normal for this body.
And the reason we've done Thursdays in the past is that's just kind of the night that we all have as an available option.
So I'm just going to throw this out there since we're trying to calendar. I'm not available on the 24th. So, and I would really like to hear what they have to say, but I just don't know how long this thing's going to last. So I won't be done till 6:45 probably. So if we were willing to do a 7 that night, I could get here in time, but that, as an option.
Is there consensus on the 24th at 7?
I'm fine with that. I know that's not your preferred. And then for a potential backup date, the 10th would be our next meeting, 10th of March. We could do March 17th or March 20th. Well, March 24th I won't be in town, but March 17th would also be another option for me. Sometime between 6 and 7.
That gives the vendor a little bit more time to prepare for.
And us more time to prepare questions.
Yeah.
So calendaring is something we're able to do via email. So I'll reach out to the vendor, see what their calendar is, reach out to this group. I just wanted to kind of get a few starting dates and times from this body. It always helps with that conversation. So I do appreciate it, and I have some homework.
Wonderful,
Thank you.
Are we ready to move on to our next item?
I have a quick question.
Go for it.
Did we approve the minutes, or did we just talk about the minutes? Does it require a formal vote?
It does require
Okay.
a formal vote for yes.
I move to approve the minutes from the January meeting.
I will second that.
Should we do a roll call vote for this? Is that the best way to do it?
This can be an aye vote.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
I do appreciate that. And like I said, at the next meeting, you guys will have quite the slate.
And we'll get that beforehand, so we don't have to sit here and read it out. months of minutes.
Unless you choose to.
I think I trust everyone to be a strong reader in this group. All right, let's go ahead and go into item number 7, nominations for committee positions. We have 2 available, co-chair and secretary. Does anyone want to either nominate themselves or nominate someone else with consent?
Daniel, I thought you did great the first time, so I'm gonna nominate you for co-chair.
Cool.
Accept that
Yeah,
nomination.
I accept the nomination. I'd be happy to help co-chair for sure if this group of individuals approves that. But yeah, any other nominations I'm open to.
Is there anyone else that would like to nominate themselves or someone else for co-chair? Then I believe we do need a motion for this as well.
You do need a motion, and you can use, if it's unanimous, an aye vote would work.
And I'll go ahead and move to nominate or to vote on Daniel for co-chair.
Correct. Yes, you have a nomination, so.
I accept the nomination.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Daniel.
Thanks a lot.
And also, thanks for taking over last time. Is there anyone for secretary?
Did we outline the new responsibilities since they wouldn't be taking minutes? Last time, I think we did, but I don't recall what they were.
We did. I think we just talked about it. I don't know that we reflected it in the bylaws, but that they would work in collaboration with the assistant clerk to just receive the minutes, make any revisions with her, and help, fix any name misspellings or anything like that. So it wouldn't be actually capturing the minutes, but revising with staff.
I'll nominate myself. I can do that if nobody else wants to.
I'll second that.
Yeah. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Woohoo.
All right, moving on to our recap of our North Kansas City Business Council presentation, which Gabby did a wonderful job putting things together for.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Gabby, do you want me to start and then you
Sure.
can? Okay. So we met with the executive council for the business council, and I was able to present a little information about like who we are and what we do, and then Gabby presented more information on North Kansas City United and our goal with that. Overall, their biggest push is they didn't want to have North Kansas City United be a thing that divides people, in a sense that like if they're not able to make the pledge because of a corporate office or something that's not of people working there on an everyday basis, they didn't want that to be off-putting to others. Gabby, anything else you would add?
Just maybe a little tiny bit of context, which is that Anthony had kind of been liaising with us and with the council and had shared with us some time ago that some of their concerns was we had envisioned like a list similar to like HRC, for example. There's a list of, if you've taken the pledge or if they were worried about a list for that very reason. They gave an example of like Harrah's Casino is a really important business in our North Kansas City community, gives us lots of extra dollars, but they wouldn't be able to sign a pledge like that because of some regs with corporate office. So that was a really good example, and I had just shared with them that we had already kind of nixed that from the concept a few months ago, but I think they were still under the impression that we were headed down that path. So I think they were relieved. We didn't really get any next steps. I think we were kind of dismissed after our presentation, and that they would discuss maybe getting it in front of the luncheon audience at a future date. So it was a pretty fast and not too eventful presentation, but I don't know, it was a good 8 or 10 people there that they had good questions. They asked about the other city that we modeled our pledge off of, and I couldn't remember who that was, April. I know you did a bulk of the work.
Yeah, it was Huntington, I can never remember if it was West Virginia or Virginia. West Virginia.
Okay.
Huntington, West Virginia.
Yeah.
I told them I might lie to them, and I didn't need to. I thought it was just all from Beaverton, because we use them so much.
Yep.
So it was a pretty reasonable crowd. There was no booing or anything like that. And we'll just, if you guys are okay with it, we'll just circle back with them and find out if there's any next steps. I'm sure they are probably trying to figure out now if they re-meet, are they going to meet in person? Are they going to start lunching together again? So they're probably trying to figure out those pieces. So I can circle back to Rich if people want me to do that. Or we can just wait. Whatever. But now we have decals.
Yeah, now we're very fancy.
But we also don't have, and that was something that I promised him we would continue to flesh out, was kind of the pledge. We would have to kind of get the pledge onto our letterhead, get some of the marketing collateral materials together. So maybe we should try and pull those together and then schedule a follow-up with him.
I think one of the other things that was missing from what I don't think we had a clear goal of what we wanted from them as execs on the business council, other than like, here's the thing we're thinking of doing.
Yeah.
So I think two things we should do before we go back to them is, one, have a clear goal of what we need or want from the business council.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately all we wanted was their stamp of approval of just saying like, hey, this is what we want to present with businesses in town. You're the business council. We don't want to do it without you guys knowing. Was at least my understanding of what we were trying to do. And the second thing I think would be helpful would be to have some sort of research behind why posting that spaces are inclusive is important to consumers. Because I think we need to give businesses a reason to say yes behind why should we do North Kansas City United. But I think those are the two pieces that we were missing.
So I'd be willing to work on this, and maybe if April gives me permission to, you had typed up kind of what I would call an initial proposal document, and maybe we just take chunks of that and put it into a document. Oops, sorry, put the the logo on it. We can add some links maybe to some evidence around the consumer's choice, or I can do some research on that, and maybe outline the goals of the pledge, and here's the pledge, and here's what we are asking for. So kind of a pitch document. So if it's okay with you, I can take your document and rework it, and then
Yeah,
maybe
that's
send it
fine.
back to you for
Yeah.
review.
I'll email it. They're in kind of pieces right now, so I'll put it all together and email it to you, and yeah, we can collaborate on
Great.
it. That's great.
Thank you.
If you want some help with research, it's literally my job to do that, so I'd be more than happy to help out with it. Okay, any other closing thoughts on our business council presentation, or things we might want to present to them as well?
For this presentation, is it something that are we just expanding it to the businesses within that organization, or is this something that we're looking to kind of expand and eventually partner with the YMCA and the library and the school, or is this specifically for the business council?
Oh, sorry. There's concentric circles. So I think we started with the NKC Business Council because they kind of function like a chamber of commerce. So it's like one epicenter where we can catch all these businesses. And I would have to look at their membership roster to know if the Y or Synergy or any of those other nonprofit organizations are part of the Business Council. So I think it just kind of felt like a really good, important first step to get blessings from them before we start then reaching out to other businesses. But I think, I think about Briarcliff School, I'm not sure how much local autonomy the principal has. Would they have to run up a flagpole with district and all of those kind of things? But if we have a document that can kind of be that marketing piece, it will allow those different entities to be able to run interference on those. But the business council feels more, and you guys who know the business council, this is my first meeting of them. They seem more like small business, independent shops, LLCs in Northtown. So I don't know who's really at the table, but it seems like a really good first place to start.
And I think in addition, we also like threw around the idea of families could also do the pledge and then put those in their windows as like something that we could eventually grow to, but starting with businesses and more specifically starting with the business council was where we wanted to start. I'm very excited about item number 9, North Kansas City High School Multicultural Festival, but I have no context on this. So whoever does, go for it.
That would be me. So one of my other hats that I wear for the city is I coordinate the local tourism program here. We're fortunate here that the city council has, within the fiscal year 2022 budget, re-upped. It is a program that assists with marketing dollars for events that bring people to North Kansas City. So it is open to businesses, meaning like the Pint Path. You know, these are large events that bring people to patron businesses, maybe discover North Kansas City, give them a reason to kind of come check us out and hopefully love us and come visit us some more. So I recently received an application from the North Kansas City High School looking for one of these tourism grant funds for a multicultural event that they are looking to host. The event will be on March 29th, and it is from 5 to 8 p.m. And again, so I've known about this particular event since Monday. So I did kind of put it on the agenda. Sorry to kind of throw this at you guys without any context. This particular application, so when I receive these applications, I kind of go through them. I write up a little bit of a staff report. They are put onto the city council's agenda for consideration and potential funding. So this particular grant request is not approved yet by the city council, but it will be, you guys are getting a preview. It will be on your agenda that you receive tomorrow. The mayor might know something about this already. So the event description, I'm just going to read it right from the applicant's application right here. The event will consist of food from different cultures. It will also have informational booths as well as decorations on the booths. There will be cultural dances and cultural songs as well as poems and instruments. The main idea is to make the community aware about diversity in other cultures. So should the city council, and I can't speak for them, but they have been generally supportive of events like this, help fund this, this would be something that the city would be giving support dollars for marketing purposes to let people know about this particular event. What my wonderment to my question to this body is, would you guys like us to connect you with the student who is, right now it's Reed Peterman, sorry, Reed, and I know you.
Former city council member, child.
Yes, so I was wondering if this body would like to be connected with a particular student that seems to be at least filled out this application, and see if you guys might want to work together for this particular event.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have some swag. Maybe we could have a table or something.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes. We have very cool name tags now.
We have a gigantic flag to throw out there as well, so it could be really crazy.
And I was told this would be the different mic. It's different. Totally lost my train of thought. Like like they do over at the park downtown. The Ethnic Enrichment Festival. There we go. And this is their first year doing it, so they're still trying to figure out what exactly they're doing as well. So hoping to build this into a larger event every year. But as you know, it's a very, very diverse high school, and I think they're really wanting to tap into that. They've done some things with the Black Student Union, the Asian Student Union. They go in and decorate the hall. I mean, just simple stuff. Decorate the halls, putting various posters up on the walls. And, there's been great reception to that inside the high school. So now they're wanting to expand and hit on definitely on a lot more areas. So should be an exciting event and something I'm excited for the city to be a part of.
Well, what I will do is I will send out, I don't know if you guys wanted to kind of maybe pick somebody who would be point on this from this body. I'm happy to forward the contact information to you.
Yeah, and if we have like more than one person, that's been something that's been kind of on my little personal agenda as soon as we started this, that's That was one of my goals, to do like a multicultural festival. So if they, if they need more than one person, I will volunteer with Martin.
I will too. I can provide them some resources on artists and other resources like that, so.
Awesome.
So is the point Martin, and then you will, perfect. I just need to know who I'm emailing. So I can provide the homework date. I would need whatever you guys would like to include by Friday, February 21st, or February 25th. So I don't know what you guys would like to have included, but that's kind of the date that I would need for submission into the next quarterly newsletter.
Daniel, is that what you were working on? Were you doing the
Yeah,
newsletter?
I was planning on getting that
Do you
done.
still, with the new baby around, do you need any help with that, or you think you'll be
I
able?
should be good. I mean, I think really at this point, it's just the content that we
Mhm.
want to include and we have a really good template for getting the word count right and getting the spacing. So at the end of the day, the content is the most important part. So anything that we want to include, just send to me and we'll word it and just send it out to, for approval before that. Okay. Does that work?
When will it come out? Will it come out after this festival or before this festival?
So it is not well timed for this
Okay.
festival.
Okay.
Pretty much it will go to the printer in early March and it'll be delivered in homes in late February, but I can't guarantee it would show up before that event. It is kind of at the whim. I can tell you when it's going to be sitting on a post office, intake box, but I have no idea. It really depends on what the surge of the mail looks like. And then there's this little thing called COVID, which is also impacting everybody's operations. So they usually give me about a 5 to 7 day window from drop off to in homes.
So keeping that in mind, maybe we could make that a topic of it, why, being exposed to other cultures. That way, if it does get into homes before the event, you know what I mean? But then it's still relevant if it doesn't get into them afterwards. So just kind of keep that in mind for a topic.
Is being a part of the newsletter something that we have an option for each time? Okay, because I like the thought of it sounds like we have an opportunity, so we can decide if we want to put something in there or not. But I think, Daniel, to have this as an ongoing project for each newsletter, so we can all start thinking about, okay, even in the following, for Black History Month, for the past one or whatnot when it came out. So being prepared to have something each newsletter, and that feels like a task that we can all kind of help Daniel with for sure. But if you kind of run point on that still, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. What we've done really the past 3 newsletters, maybe 2, I mean, with them being quarterly, there's a lot to include, but we've just tried to keep the public aware of our progress. We haven't necessarily done kind of a reminder of events. I mean, I think these are all really good ideas. So the more we can, unpack that and get those kinds of things in there, the better.
This may be off agenda, and I apologize in advance, but we had given some dates for the open forum, the community forum last time. Did Chief respond, or, because that maybe could be a tee up for our news article is, come join us for the talk with the chief on blah, blah date.
I'll be honest, I don't have those dates top of mind, but what I can do is follow back up with you guys on those dates via email. Usually I'm better at that, sorry.
Other than that, I think we're good to move on to the next one, branding. We have all of our fancy treasures, including our name tints and our little pens. Other than that, do we have any updates for branding, Yvonne? I think.
No, I just wanted to know about the shirts. Did we have anything on the shirts? Kim?
I have not ordered any shirts. I'm sorry, was that ball in my court?
I have no idea where that ball belongs.
I thought Lisa.
Okay.
How about this? What I can do is I can get with Lisa to find out whose ball the court is in.
Great, thank you. So we will keep branding on the agenda until we figure out our shirt issue, which is fine because we're going to need to know sizes and things like that anyway. If there are no other committee updates, we can move into community member comments. Yep. Great. And committee member comments.
Can I ask a quick question? I'm sorry, I probably should have waited till the committee member question section. So Lisa used to check the voicemail and the email. Did that transition to you, or?
So I believe that those are forwarded to you via voice to, like it would be an email attachment.
Okay, any announcements? I feel like these are the exact same thing, so maybe I'll take one or the other off the agenda.
I don't know if this falls under committee member comments or announcements, but I wanted to share a resource that one of my colleagues shared in honor of Black History Month, and it's the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture Digital Searchable Museum. And so I don't know if you guys have heard of that before, but it is an awesome resource and so COVID friendly because it's all online and you can take it at your own time. And I can send that out. It's a long name, so I can send that out in an email afterwards. But I really enjoyed being able to kind of look through that this month.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. All right, then it is, wow, we were very efficient, everyone. I'm very proud of us. It is 7:50 on February 10th, and I call this meeting closed. I don't know where the gavel is, sorry.